Welcome, gods and goddesses, creators, to All Things Spirituality with yours truly, Maria Palomino, a sacred sanctuary that speaks the unspeakable and lets you in on the secrets of spiritual awakening. Introducing self-discovery, soul awakening tools that helps you remember your soul's true purpose to start manifesting a conscious reality. Every soul is unique, meaning no spiritual path is the same. Feel every conversation and let your mind, body, and soul guide you to what is unique to only you. It is the soul's resonance of remembrance. Now, take a deep breath, drop into your heart, and let us begin, beautiful souls creators. Welcome, gods and goddesses, to All Things Spirituality. I am so excited. We have Malaika back for another round of podcasts, and this time we're going to talk about Cacao Ceremony. More and more it's becoming popular. People are drinking every morning, and Malaika is just a pioneer. I really feel that she has been the master teachers who has been teaching about cacao ceremonies and doing the rituals before it became not only popular, but she has trained and people have gone through her to also lead the way. So here we are with a pioneer. A little background about Malaika. Malaika is an elemental yoga, African dance, and cacao ceremony teacher. She's a global movement facilitator with shamanic, tantric, earth goddess roots. Malaika is a Canadian-Jamaican ancestry who spent years living amongst different indigenous cultures from Africa and Australia to South America. Malaika brings a wealth of earth wisdom for personal and planetary awakening, having walked the shamanic path for a lifetime. Dedicated to creating sacred space in ritual and ceremony, embodying ancient wisdom, and creating relevant ceremonies for our contemporary people to help restore balance. Malaika has been dancing and practicing yoga for over 18 years. She's combined her background in elemental shamanic earth wisdom, Ishta yoga, tantra, and Ayurveda. 5 elements with her love of African rhythm to provide her students with tools for joy, self-transformation, and awakening. Malaika, thank you for being here today. Always a pleasure and an honor to be in your presence. You're so wise. You bring so much knowledge, and every time I'm with you, I have this awakening and questioning that happens that really helps my soul evolve. Why don't you lead us to a quick meditation or just dropping into our heart, so everything that we create, any contact that's coming through, really connect with other people's heart for their highest good, for their highest consciousness, and
Beautiful.
for oneness. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. So let's just start with feeling where you're sitting and taking an inner scan of your body, just scanning your body where you're at. If you're driving or if you're listening to this and you're driving a vehicle, of course, keep your eyes open, but otherwise, close your eyes. Let your eyes just become heavy and close your eyes, closing down the senses of our visual, and take a visual intake of your internal reality. And then without doing anything, just witness your breath if you're breathing shallow, if you're breathing deep, without judgment. And then the invitation is to deepen your breath, so to really consciously bring that mindfulness of taking a full deep inhalation and a full exhalation. Opening the mouth. So again, let's breathe in through the nose and exhale. And again, this time make a little sigh on the exhale. Sighing tells our body it's safe to be home in your temple. And just placing both hands on your heart, feel the heat of your own hands warming and touching your own heart, just regulating your nervous system, calming your mind, releasing the external world and coming into a state of receptivity to receive this transmission that we're about to share together. And when you're ready, take a nice full deep breath in again into your belly. And gently flicker your eyes open so we can find each other in this new now.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I didn't want to come out. What a big difference it makes, even if it's just for 1 minute, to just be present and
with yourself.
Connect with your breath and just yourself. It's so soothing and beautiful. Thank you. So yes, Malaika, you are the pioneer of Cacao Ceremonies and have led massive ceremonies, especially here in Bali and throughout the world where you've lived. Tell us a little bit, first of all, about history of cacao, and then we'll go into your own experience and what brought you to serve in this beautiful medicine that is becoming more and more popular and is helping a lot of people with their evolution and their growth and a way of holding space for themselves, a ritual that they do in the morning.
Well, you know, as you know, I'm a ceremonialist and a ritualist, and I love all ceremonies and all rituals and everything, and of course love chocolate.
Who doesn't like chocolate?
Yeah, so
it doesn't come from Switzerland, people.
Yes, exactly. It comes from South America, and I love to honor the indigenous people, like bring these roots and these threads of continued unbroken traditions, and the prophecy that they have in South America with the indigenous people is that there would come a time when the hearts of the beings of the world would become so out of alignment that the medicines from the rainforests would come out of the jungles and to reopen the hearts of all beings. So we're seeing all these medicines, you know, plant medicines coming out and having a resurgence into our Western culture to bring us into balance and harmony, like ayahuasca, and there's temples and centers opening up to help heal people from addictions and afflictions and trauma and everything through using the plant medicines, how they've been traditionally used for thousands of years. And cacao is the is the plant medicines of all plant medicines that's been used for thousands and thousands of years all through South America. In fact, cacao beans have been used as money. That's why, you know,
currency.
Yeah,
trade currency.
Trade currency was traded in cacao beans because they knew the value of it, and, you know, versus having a piece of metal that you couldn't eat. I mean, a cacao bean you could eat, you could grind it into cacao paste, and it had value. And all of the old ancient burial sites in South America, they always find cacao beans, like for offerings for the afterworld and offerings in ceremonies, offerings to the ancestors. There'd be cacao beans and coca leaves. So the two things that they've been using in South America for eons. And they have specific grades. What I found when I was in South America was there was different grades of cacao. And so the cacao actually means elixir for the gods. So how they came to know that, you know, like take this fruit and dry it in the sun and shell the outside off and then heat it a little bit, and then all this beautiful paste comes out when you grind it.
It's a process.
It's, you know, the whole process of like discovering that. But, you know, in their traditions, they believe that, you know, there's the goddess Ixtlacao. I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're from Peru, but she is the goddess of cacao and is the one who brought it to the people. Like they always see that there was someone who brought, like the corn goddess who brought the corn and brought these different staples that they used. So in most families down there, I found that, you know, they, in the morning, you know, the grandmas are making a big pot of cacao to give to the children. They mix it with the corn liquid that they make as well. So it's like quite a nourishing drink. And cacao itself, like when you scientifically study it, it has hundreds and hundreds of compounds that are making up the cacao plant. And one of those being theobromide, which really is the precursor to serotonin and dopamine in our body. So it's the feel-good hormone that, you know, that's released in our bodies when we have an orgasm.
It's amazing.
So it's no wonder that we all love chocolate. It's an aphrodisiac. Yeah. It opens our hearts naturally because of the compounds that are actually found inside of it, as well as like thousands of other compounds that are in there. Like it's a very high antioxidant. So it binds because of the molecular structure of cacao. It binds with chemicals in your body, like toxins in your body will
Yeah.
bind to it and take out heavy metals and take out
It's
toxins.
purifying and cleansing
Yeah,
your body at the same
yeah.
time.
And unfortunately, when you mix it with like dairy, cow's milk, and sugar,
Sugar.
which is what, most processed chocolate is mixed with lecithin, dairy, sugar. So then it becomes not good for you anymore. But when you have pure cacao, it's actually really, really healthy. It's a healthy drink. And a lot of people think that it has caffeine, but it's not. It's not caffeine in it, but it is a stimulant. But at the same time, it's also a relaxant. So you can feel this, like you can have awakening.
Which is what you want. You want
Yeah,
to be aware,
aware and awake, but not
but
not
relax at the same
overstimulated.
time.
I mean,
Yeah.
some people get very overstimulated with cacao, and they can't take a lot of it.
Yeah.
You do have to be careful, and it also cleanses the liver. So if you have a very toxic diet or a lot of toxins in the body, some people can feel nauseous when they have like a lot of pure cacao. But when we do it in a ceremony, we're doing it in a way of like an offering to the spirit world, and it's been a way that ceremony can come back to Western people, and not everybody is ready or wants to drink a cup of hallucinogenic ayahuasca and go off into the other realms. That's
Correct.
not maybe everybody's cup of tea, but to drink this warm, beautiful cacao in a way that it's subtle and it's gentle and it's really focused on the heart. And so the ceremony that I do is really also about focused on continually like using the medicines as they are
All the
designed, what they're,
compounds, the aphrodisiac
yeah,
compounds,
the
which makes
compounds,
sense.
and then using them, bring in the processes and the ceremony that can also then help facilitate even more opening in that space.
Kind of makes sense if it has the compounds that, that it's an aphrodisiac that allows you to relax. That is when you're able to just naturally go into those higher realms. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole point of meditating is to
Mm-hmm.
just surrendering and come to the nothingness. And that's what happens when you open your heart,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's an aphrodisiac, so it's a stimulant, so kind of like
Mm-hmm.
an orgasm at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. And that is when you manifest.
Mm-hmm.
That is when you create,
Mm-hmm.
when you're not pushing, when you're not controlling.
Mm-hmm.
And I, go ahead, but I've seen so many beautiful effects that people have and very emotional because they
Mm-hmm.
just surrender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when you're holding space, you're asking the right questions
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, and to help that heart opening to continue to expand. I think that's like the beauty of it. And for most people in our Western world, they don't really have a relationship with the unseen realms, but we are all affected by the unseen realms, whether we know it or not. It's there, whether we believe it or not, it's there. And so the more mindfulness and awareness we bring around to that, it can have a profound effect on people to, one, not feel so alone, that even
Correct.
when you think you're alone, it's like, wow, there's actually all these, spirit team that I have around me, and there's all
Benevolent
this like
beings that are there
benevolent,
for you.
loving
Yeah.
energy that I live in, and to think that the plants themselves love us and want to help us to
And
bring
they
into
have their
alignment, and they
souls,
have
their
compounds.
spirit.
Yeah, they have
Yes.
beings, just like any plant. Like for instance, I use tobacco in the ceremonies only for praying. I always bring a cacao tree that I've grown from seed. And, people can use that tobacco and pray with tobacco, because tobacco also has an entity with it, an energy with it, that its main purpose, and all indigenous people all over the
All
world
over the world,
use
tobacco, isn't that
tobacco to carry
amazing?
prayers, because
Yes.
that's the
From the,
job of that
yeah.
that particular deity that goes with that plant. And so when you smoke tobacco and it has written on there, your smoking causes cancer, that's the prayer. And again, like I said in the last podcast, the universe doesn't differentiate between a positive prayer or a negative prayer. It just answers and gives you what you ask for. So if your packet of tobacco says on it, your smoking is going to harm others or is going to cause lung cancer, which, very likely it could, but that's written on your tobacco. That's the prayer that you're sending up for it to be made manifest. So all indigenous people use tobacco, the smoke of tobacco. They weren't inhaling it. They were using the smoke to pray to Great Spirit for the rains to come, for the crops to be, well harvested, to bring harmony in the families, to bring a new lover for their daughters, to find a suitor or a suitable partner, to bring more children into the family, or whatever. They were making those offerings and those prayers in that way to be answered. And the same with the cacao. Cacao can be used in the way of bringing the community together. So we come together, and when you're sitting in a circle is transparent. There is no, it's not like you're sitting in straight lines and someone's sitting higher than you. Like in a church, you have someone higher than you who's at the top, and everyone else is in lines.
No one's behind you, no one's in front of you.
Yeah, in a circle, we're all transparent, and we're, I'm just holding space, but it's a co-creative experience of like sharing, and everything is welcome in that circle. And it allows us to bring our communities together. And if it's facilitated and held well, then true healing can happen. People can meet eye to eye. They can meet heart to heart. They can share, what's happening for them in their life right now. And sometimes I think that's, I think so many people are in therapy nowadays because we have lost the power of community ritual that was happening on a regular basis. So on a regular basis, if you're doing it regularly, coming together in those circles and community, then regularly you're
cleansing,
releasing and clearing yourself, when usually we wait until it's like, 10 years down the track of 10 years worth of stuff. It's like, oh my God, that's too much to download in one session. You need a therapist, and you have to go and like work through all this stuff. So
which is what's happening a lot. We didn't grow up in that type of environment. Exactly. So all of a sudden there's a lot of work to do, and it comes quick.
Yeah. And it can happen very quick, and for me, ritual and ceremony, things can happen very, very powerfully and very quickly, because you're entering into those realms that we're going beyond the mundane, we're entering into the sacred realms. And that's what you do when you're opening ceremony.
Yeah. You're opening you're going sacred space, and you call in the directions, you call in the guides. And what I like about it, that I learned about, is always calling in the ancestors of the local land. That is so key. And sometimes we bring in our tradition and we call in our traditions, but what about the ancestors of this land? Wherever you go, you're in their land.
Yeah. So I did a cacao ceremony yesterday for a friend it was her birthday, and she asked me to do one. And I always take the first cup, the first pour is always for the spirits. I don't touch it. I don't sip it or taste anything. For the goddess. And then I bring some to the cacao tree, to thank the spirit of the tree and the spirit of the cacao herself. And then I take it down, and we were on a river, and so I went down to the river and put some in the river for the waters. Because it's cacao is also this incredible thing of alchemy. Because you have the earth, the bean, and then you got to bring the water in, then you got to bring the fire in, and then you breathe the prayers in, and then you create the etheric space, so it has all the elements in there for the alchemy to happen. And then, then I go down to the temple on the land where we were doing it yesterday, and just make an offering and offer them, because the spirits here, they don't know what is cacao, this is not part of their tradition. And so I'll leave a little offering, of their, taste this, here, have this. This is an offering for you, and please forgive us if we do something wrong or to insult anything. And that's not my intention. We come with the purest of heart of its intention to bring people together in harmony. And so I think once that space is set, then the magic can happen.
This is why I brought you. There are a lot of cacao people that hold space, but I like how thorough you are with honoring every single aspect of the process, and honoring the plant, honoring the seed, honoring the spirit, honoring the local land, and offering this new medicine that is not from the local land either, right? Asking permission. And that's what makes you so unique and so conscious about all the different moving parts that are
Mhm.
happening because they
Mhm.
are.
Mhm.
All right. And I know you keep a clean vessel, you're very
Mhm.
conscious. So that's very important to whatever facilitator you may have
Mhm.
hosting a cacao ceremony, especially
Mhm.
if they're calling in directions and
Mhm.
calling in
And
guides.
remembering to close is
Most
as
important
important,
thing.
you
Oh
know, it's
my
like,
God.
because that's something that, a lot of people, they learn some stuff or whatever, and they'll do a big invocation and then they forget to close. It is just as important as opening, because it's like you've invited guests, and
Correct.
it's
And
like,
all of a
okay,
sudden
now
they're
the
in your
party's over,
house.
you want them to go home, like you send
You
them
want to sleep
back.
with them.
Yeah, and a lot of people forget to close, which is just as important as the opening.
That's why training is so important. And
Hmm.
Malaika has created this beautiful cacao ceremony training that I've actually done it. And when I hosted like my real cacao
Hmm.
ceremony, I made sure to have Malaika with me in the kitchen as I'm
Hmm.
preparing it and the music and all the songs that go with it.
Hmm.
Because some people think it's just about serving it, just
Hmm.
making it and serving it, and
Hmm.
they're not very conscious about
Hmm.
the where did it come from? How
Hmm.
was it grown? How was it talked to?
Hmm.
What hands were passed on to it?
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that. Like how do you pick your cacao?
Well, here living in Bali now, cacao is growing in Bali. It was introduced and brought over here, and because we're a tropical island, so there's many cacao plantations, and it's great to support the local farmers,
Correct.
especially during these times right now. And so I get my cacao from local source here in Bali. In South America, there's different grades, and because they are using it specifically, like there's ceremonial cacao, and then there's just regular cacao that's industrial, being sold off or being processed into chocolate bars and, cocoa and cocoa powder and stuff
Ceremonial
like that.
grade is key.
Yeah, the criollo, which
Criollo.
means criollo, I think is like original, means original being or original people, and they're actually bigger, and they're the people are actually praying with them, with the beans, like they're communicating with the goddess of cacao, as they're looking after the trees. And the beauty of trees, like most people have never seen a cacao tree before, she's like got many breasts, you know?
Yes.
It's like a
Yeah.
Artemis, the original Artemis from Turkey with all her breasts and all the
The
animals.
Artemis goddess,
Yeah,
yes.
and so it's like that from on the cacao goddess too. She has many, many breasts, and the cacao pod, which is also like a womb, and then you cut it open, and there's this white fleshy seeds inside there, and to suck the seeds is sweet fruit on the
On
outside
the
of the
outside,
seed,
yes.
and then the seed is got this skin over top of the seed which needs to come off, and the seed is white to start, and then you can dry them in the sun and that skin will dry, and then you can just with your hands shell it and crack
Okay.
that off, and then dry it in the sun is the best. And the sun, like getting the chemistry of the sun baked into the beans, or then lightly roasting them in the like in a clay pot over the
Correct.
fire. That's how they do it traditionally in South America,
Yeah.
and then grinding them. And they used to like you use a stone.
Batan. It's called a
Yeah,
batan.
yeah, stone grinder for grinding. It was a hard work, grinding the
That's what we grew
beans.
up with at
Mm-hmm.
Batanes in Peru, and my grandpa would come and grind
Mm-hmm.
the chocolate or the cacao, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a very unique smell
Mm-hmm.
compared to other cacaos, and the aroma
Yes.
would just go
Oh,
around the house. And
so
when he was
beautiful.
younger, he would work in the Marañón, which is all
Mm-hmm.
that area around the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So he would go out and, gather
Mm-hmm.
like fruits
Yeah,
and a
grab
lot
the
of cacao
fruits.
as
Yeah.
well and coffee.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah, because those plantations are old from colonial days. They
Correct.
planted cocoa and cacao everywhere, and they planted coffee everywhere. And a lot of those plantations, I was living in the Caribbean as well, and I did cacao ceremonies down there in Dominica.
Oh,
And
wow.
there it was amazing because my friend would take me to these old, really old cacao trees. Some of them like, 300-year-old trees,
Wow.
and gnarly old trees, and they hadn't been looked after. The plantations were abandoned, so the forest had all grown up around them. But cacao
Wild.
grows. It was a
Yeah.
wild plant growing in the canopy. It wasn't grown in plantations. It was grown underneath the canopy. It doesn't like
Yes.
being out in the full sun in a plantation. So they do better. And so these pods were like huge, big cacao pods like
Oh, that
this,
sounds
and
yummy.
we'd bring them home and oh, what a process, to make
Takes a lot of work.
yeah, a lot of work. And it's so funny too. I always love the look on people's face when they, because it smells like chocolate, it looks like chocolate, but with no sugar, it doesn't
It's
taste
bitter.
like what the
Yeah.
chocolate that people are used
No
to,
milk,
but
no
it all
sugar.
smells like that. And then you
Yeah.
take it and it's like, oh my God, it's like quite a bitter taste, which is the bitter is what cleans the body, all these bitter things are what cleans the body. I like to, if I'm doing, depends on what the ceremony is, like if it's Valentine's or if
Oh.
it's, a love ceremony, or if it's a ceremony
And what do you mix it with? I
with
like
dates.
you
With
like
dates,
putting
I'll
dates
just
in it to a
sweeten
little
it
bit of
with
sweetness.
dates. Yeah.
How about putting in other plants? Like I like putting in sometimes lotus flower,
Mm-hmm.
which is what you take if you want to have more lucid
Mm-hmm.
dreams,
Mm-hmm.
right? I work with the roses because I'm
Yeah.
all about the rose lineage.
Yeah.
So I'll put in a little bit of
Rose
rose.
petals.
All
Yeah. And you
right.
can put in a bit of mint sometimes. You can put in a bit of um, cinnamon. You can put in vanilla. What
But
else
it
does
has to be
sometimes
natural or
orange?
else the
Yeah,
vibratory
yeah, yeah,
level
yeah. Always
will
natural. Yes.
decrease.
Nutmeg is great. What else? You can just, whatever tickles your
So
fancy,
you're
really.
okay
Like
with
to,
that. You're
oh
okay
yeah,
with
yeah.
people.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm a mixed race person. So,
Yes.
mixing things is like, yeah, you get beautiful blends and I'm not born into that tradition. So for me, the piece to honor them and thank them for keeping these lineages and these traditions alive, and trusting my own intuition that then I've come to this, or the plants have come to me. And I always say that to people, that they should form a relationship with the plant before serving it, so
Thank
form your
you.
own relationship
Yes.
with
Relationship with
cacao,
the
like
plant.
do some cacao ceremonies for yourself to see what is the effects of it, what does it do, how does it make me feel, journal,
And
write.
doing it on your own, because people have
Mm-hmm.
experienced it in a circle, but they haven't
Mm-hmm.
done it just on their own, where it's a
Yeah.
sacred
Yeah,
space
and create that sacred space for
just
yourself
for
and work with the
you.
medicine, and then make that, like in shamanism, you always have allies. And so you ask the medicine itself to see, are you my ally? And wait and
Am I to
receive.
work with you?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
some people, I have students that have wanted to do, to serve it and everything. And then they find that like it's not their medicine, and they can't drink it. And I'm like, well, if you can't drink it, don't be serving it.
No.
Like, if you don't like it and you can't be drinking it yourself, don't be
Yes.
serving it, because it's not your ally then.
Mm.
If you're working with the medicine and it's serving you, then you can serve it for others, as well in that way. And so you really got to, form a relationship with the energy of it. And part of that for me is forming that relationship with the indigenous people whose tradition that is. I always honor them. I always humbly say, like, please forgive me if I do anything wrong. That's not my intention. And please,
And they come in and guide you and support you
yeah.
and
And then
make you hold
then I
space after
literally,
that.
I mean, people always say, oh, you hold phenomenal space. I mean, I literally don't plan. A lot of times I just,
And it's because you're going in with that intention and you're asking for
mhm.
permission.
And then,
Genuinely, genuinely.
shamanism, there's this um, metaphor of like, please, spirit, help me to become the hollow bone. And the hollow bone meaning, the wind can blow through the hollow bone. Whereas if I have
Oh, I see.
then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. That's
Or it's
like
very
me controlling
scripted.
it, and
Yeah.
there's no room for spirit. So for me is like once I do the offerings and the invocations and the prayers and create that energy,
Yes.
then there's an allowance, if I've done that correctly, for spirit to come into the field. And once I feel that happen, then I just get out of the way and just go, okay, let's do them. Okay, my computer's not working. I guess we're going to play live music.
Oh, that's even
All
better.
kinds of things happen, like all kinds of things happen
The
during
way they're
ceremonies,
supposed to
the way
happen.
they're supposed to happen. And then I just go
Yes.
with the flow. Like I did the very first cacao ceremony in Ibiza at the Ibiza Tantra Festival. And because it was a Tantra festival, I was like using the tantric rituals,
Correct.
to do, and using the cacao to do this whole big massive ceremony. And I was very nervous because there was like all the top tantra teachers in the world were there, and I was like doing this ceremony, and they had put me in a small room, and there was like a huge big other room, and Spirit kept telling me like prepare more, and then Spirit was like, you need to ask if you can be in the big room because lots of people are going to come. So I went to the organizers and I said, I think I need to be in the big space,
room. Yeah.
And they had kirtan happening in the big space, and so they swapped spaces, and like nobody went to the kirtan. It was like
everyone came to the cacao.
450 people in the ceremony. And
that's a lot of cacao for 450 people. And I've seen
my witch on,
your pores. I've seen your pores. They're big pores.
Yeah. It was fun. It was definitely fun making these huge big pots of, praying with them and singing to the medicine and everything. And there was a cave underneath where the ceremony was, right on the ocean. So I went into the cave and I prayed, and I made all the offerings and everything, and
which I'm sure a lot of people back in the days from traditions went underneath this cave.
But it was so synchronistic. There was a guy who was in there, and I had my medicine drum, and then he just said, "Oh, would you like me to play drum while you're doing these prayers and whatever?" And turns out he was Native American, and so he started doing those prayers, and then somebody else was there, and they were from Ireland or something, and they started singing these Gaelic prayers, and it was just.
And where was your cacao from for that specific ceremony?
I had got it from Guatemala.
Guatemala,
I brought that one from Guatemala.
Yeah, and taking in consideration those roots.
Yes, exactly, the roots and everything
the
else.
Mayan tradition.
But what happened in the ceremony there? Like I had somebody ask me, so that the ceremony that I did, which I'm not going to say because it was a private ceremony, but what happened and what I did was actually a full tantric ceremony.
Ooh, what does that
I
mean?
channeled, like it just came through me.
Got
it came through me, and I was like, and I'm a dreamer, so I see things in dreams. So I even saw the people and where they had to be and how to do it, and who was going to hold the directions, and I saw all of it in a dream.
Everything played out,
and then I did it, manifested it the next day, and had all these people holding space when the prayers were happening before the ceremony happened. And then this ceremony, like once I got out of the way, it was the wildest cacao ceremony.
What happened afterwards?
Oh my God, it was crazy. It was, you're at a tantra festival and people are drinking cacao. It was wild. And one of the organizers came up afterwards and she said, there hasn't been a ceremony like that since Osho was alive, because it was just like, like off the charts, like super high vibration. So for 5 years, I went back and forth to Ibiza, to that tantra festival, holding that ceremony, and every single time it was different. Like this, I do the same things, but no ceremony is ever the same because it's like no moment is ever the same.
Spirit knows best.
Yeah, so you just do the steps and then get out of the way and let Spirit just come in. And it's the same when I do Sweat Lodge and do all these other ceremonies that I do. It's the same. I just do the offerings, do the prayers, and then step out of the way and let Spirit come in to guide what's supposed to happen. Because
you put
that's
ego
the
on the
power
side.
It's
so
that's
beautiful.
The power of the healing that can happen. Is when you get out of the way and just like hold the space, but not control the space. Yeah.
No, that's very important, and that comes with practice too, and seeing it, which is very beautiful. And I mean, you've been holding space and leading cacao ceremonies, and you facilitate so many different types of rituals. And from what I've seen and what other people say, you're an expert in every one of them. All right. Even with African dance and leading that, I mean, it just shows how it is, because everything that you're teaching, and that you hold space for, it's just part of you and it's part of life. This is what you do. So you become an expert in everything, and you've excelled at it. So I think that's very important, which is why I highly recommend if you want to do a cacao ceremony training and really doing it in a sacred way and learning from someone who is connected with the land. It's, honors the rivers, honors herself, she's all about empowering people, men and women. I would definitely recommend Malaika's cacao ceremony training.
So
I mean, that's why it's so important. So thank you so much for being here. We'll just do a quick little close and I'm so happy that you're here, and I can't wait to do a cacao ceremony with you soon. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's just close the energy then that we called in and opened at the beginning. Take a nice deep breath in, feel your body. And just want to close with this beautiful African song that says that in the heart of each being there is a flower that is blossoming. So that is what the cacao coming from South America and then from these songs from Africa. And I honor all of in this crazy life that I've lived, all the ancestors and all the beings that have given me so many different tools in my toolkit to share, to help facilitate others to awaken and help to continue evolve in my own path. So take a nice deep breath in and just feel this lotus flower blossoming in your own heart. Nikonanze duo kwe oi, yaya kwe oi, nikonanze duo kwe marawa. Dunia kwe oi, yaya kwe oi, nikonanze duo kwe marawa. Dunia kwe, dunia wo, dunia kwe, dunia wo. Om Takuyasin to all of our ancestors, all of our relations. May the blessings be. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Maria.
Thank you, Malaika. You're so special.
With your podcast.
Wishing you all the luck for everyone to rise everyone. Love you, gods and goddesses. Till next episode. Bye. Thank you, beautiful souls, for listening. Visit my website and subscribe to our monthly newsletter to be updated on the latest healing programs we have available, such as self-love, inner child healing, energy healing sessions, and one-on-one coaching. Plus, starting March 2022, I will be a CAP certified facilitator. That is CAP for Kundalini Activation Process, and we'll be having activating virtual sessions as well as retreats around the world. So don't miss out and be the first to find out to secure your spot, since it will fill out quickly. Don't forget to like and subscribe to receive your latest dose of heart-opening medicine. Light and love.